I don't think we realize the importance of building solid families and how that impacts humanity. We really need to treat each other way better. I stumbled across a post by a very irate baby mama who put both her baby daddies on blast for not doing right by their children. Check this out.
I just don't get it now. Now there's people throwing stones at single mothers on Facebook because of my post and the post that followed, saying that we didn't say you must go make a child with a guy and are you asking us for help and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't it take two to tango? Who said men should not own up to their responsibilities and only women should? Because unfortunately for mothers, we cannot leave our children and then go live our lives the way that we wanted to. It's our children. So why is it not also applicable to men? For the past year, I would say, with the one I already started trying to go to the magistrate, went to social workers, asked for advice. All advice they could have given me is I need to find out where they live or where they work. Otherwise, they can't help me. And I took that as very shocking because in most instances that I've seen so far, mothers, when the dad leaves and he moves to another town or city or country, how is she supposed to track him down? Mm-hmm. And so I was looking, I asked everyone that I could, I asked friends, everyone, maybe they can help me. No one wanted to help me. I went back to the social worker 2 weeks ago, and I told her, you remember I was here a few months ago, and still I have not found out anything. So then she gave me the advice to either put a post in the newspaper or post it on social media, because somewhere, somehow, someone must know them, either a neighbor or a colleague or something. And so I did so, and a colleague, one of them's colleague called me and gave me the addresses and everything, and within a day I could make a case, because they were not even willing to let me make a case unless I have an address. Now, in an instance where, like now maybe, like I said now, the father disappears after the child is born or before the child is born, there's nothing in place to really help them. Like I would have thought to myself, maybe they would anyway take on the case, seeing that she has the ID number or the person's name and phone number. I mean, what are police there for? Warrant of arrest. Go look for them. How hard is it to find one dude in Namibia? They even find guys, they go out looking for guys with a traffic fine. They find them faster. Since I posted this on Facebook, I've got inboxes from women in Dubai. I got inboxes from women in America, in Johannesburg, Cape Town, everywhere, asking me for advice on how they should approach the situation. And I told them exactly what I did. I mean, I thought it was only in Namibia was the biggest problem, but it seems that it's everywhere.
People are so twisted. Instead of helping a sister out, they chose to judge her. But look and check how she turned her blues into power.
Yeah, I read a comment yesterday on Facebook about a lady, I think she's from Usakos, but her comment quite upset me. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was pretty awful coming from a woman that's also a mother. But yeah, what I wanted to actually to tell her on Facebook that time, but then I thought, no, that's going to start an argument and whatnot. So I just wanted to, the whole Namibia actually, I want to ask them, where does baby dumping come from? Where does women killing their unborn children come from? Mm-hmm. This all goes into one big circle. They might not know it yet, but it's all connected. Yeah, some women can't handle the pressure. Some can, some can't. But then they're out there stoning women and refuse to help them. This problem could have been solved a long time ago. Some women feel there's no one out there to help them or to speak or to voice up for them. I feel that men should be punished likewise as the moms that are dumping their babies, because they are equally responsible. They should have been there to make sure their babies are fine. I've decided out of my own pocket to go and print t-shirts, #Zorg-jou-kind, #Papgeld, deadbeats must fall. And I will be selling them, and all the proceeds that comes from that, I will then help any mother that needs help.
I'm going to get me one of those for sure. I spoke to lawyer Carly Schikkerling, who deals with maintenance cases.
The first thing that's important to consider is that our courts work with, it always aims to be just and fair. And we have a concept in our law that we refer to as the Audi principle, which means basically that both parties' stories have to be heard before the court can make a decision or grant a judgment. So the first issue is that this documentation or this application for maintenance brought by the mother of the child has to be served on the father or the alleged father, for the simple reason that he must have knowledge, he must be able to defend himself or to oppose the application. For example, it might be a circumstance where he says, well, I'm not the father. And I mean, you get people that have a right, maybe there was infidelity, maybe there was a relationship, or maybe he's just trying to avoid his responsibilities, but that often happens. And he must get that opportunity, because often it also happens that he's not the father. When the parties, firstly, when they oppose it and say, look, I'm not going to pay because I don't think I'm the father, the court will order a paternity test. And that, firstly, if it comes out that he's not the father, obviously he's not liable to pay maintenance. And therefore, the court can't just make a one-sided judgment and say you're ordered to pay an X amount of maintenance before this can be established. Well, here's a responsibility and liability. Now, let's say there is a paternity test and he is found to be the father, or he admits being the father from the outset. There's still circumstances that have to be considered. Many factors. Can he afford? Is he employed? What are the maintenance requirements for the child? What is the mother's financial position? Does she earn a salary equal to the father's? Then they're both equally liable for the maintenance. Is she also unemployed? Is he? It depends on so many factors that the court has to consider beforehand before it can make a value judgment and say, look, in the circumstances, you are earning 3 times as much as the mother. It may be that you have reasonable expenses that are more than hers, but you still have the capability to pay at least 60% of the maintenance, and the mother will be ordered to carry 40%. And for that to be determined, obviously you have to know what the expenses of the child is as well. So the mother has to bring an application, set out her factors, saying, my child costs me these and these and these amounts per month. These are reasonable amounts. I'm not, for example, you can't expect a person that is employed as a janitor at a government institution to pay private school tuition, because there's just no possible way that he could afford that. So there are many factors that the court has to take into consideration, and each case will differ. So it's not a situation where you can just say, oh, I'm the mother, you're the father, and you must pay me $5,000 per month. The unfortunate situation is, and let's be honest about this, is we live in a third world country. Although our legal system is, I think, especially in the high courts, moving towards a very first world structure with everything being electronic, and there is still the reality is that we live with many people living in rural areas, and our government simply doesn't have the funding to have let's say a private detective services situation where they can appoint people. But it costs money, and in light of the circumstances that we've experienced the last year or so with our government and the financial position, there simply isn't money to also assist in that. To be honest with you, I don't even think in first world countries the government assists with finding a parent. If they have an address, the government will pay for that to be served on that address. They will pay for the deputy sheriff or for the messenger when it's a court-connected case with state involvement, like a criminal matter or a maintenance matter. They will pay for that summons to be served, but they can't also be expected to do the detective sleuthing part of actually trying to find an address, because it just some people try and avoid being found, which makes it much more complicated.
Social worker Tameka Gauses spoke some truth about the effects of parent neglect. Check this out.
I think there's a gray line when we say fathers only, because I think the role has switched at both sides. I think there's also mothers who are neglecting their children as well as fathers, but prominently in the past it was obviously doomed by society that fathers are always the ones that are leaving the responsibility to the mother, and then the mother has to cast for the children herself. In Namibia, in terms of its prevalence, it's very, very high, because you have got teenage pregnancies on the spiral. You've got sugar daddies that are also impregnating young girls who then have to fend for themselves after this child is born. And normally they're always pushed or pressured into aborting the child, or in many cases they continue carrying the child and then they deliver the child and then they abandon the child. And this is now where the baby dumping crisis has been also spiraling in Namibia as well. A child having an absent father or a mother creates trauma onto the child, because he finds difficulty in creating normal and healthy relationships, and he doesn't also know how to differentiate in terms of what is the different roles that either the mother or the father has to play. In terms of looking at it in a spectrum, in a family context, children that are growing up without either their mothers or their fathers also tend to have identity crises, looking at how they self-identify with themselves because they have this gap of belonging or being able to know that he or she has got a full-fledged nuclear family, which is now a father and a mother and siblings as well. If you look in the community setup, children are growing up without fathers, meaning children growing up also without mothers, meaning that there's lack of guidance in terms of both the father's side as well as the mother's side. School context, it also plays a very critical role. There's psychosocial traumas that the child also experiences. Going to school, seeing the peers with their mothers and fathers, and then him or she is not having peers, his father or the mother not absent, being absent also demotivates the child in pushing the child in being someone or working hard towards to being a stable human being in life.